Strategic moves unfolding in the Indian Ocean. What drives these geopolitical moves and how do they impact regional stability and security? We explain.
My first question to you is regarding the development in Mauritius. In your opinion, what role does the newly inaugurated airstrip and jetty plays in enhancing India's cooperation with Mauritius, and how does it contribute to addressing shared concerns such as piracy and illegal fishing?
If you see the map of Agalega Island, um, you'll see that it's quite removed or away from the mainland of Mauritius. Mauritius itself is a string of islands, but Agalega is much removed from the. So there's a distance between. So there's an access issue of accessing the island easily from Mauritius. Now, what had happened was over the last 20 odd years, the government of Mauritius, since 2003, had tried to sort of build an airstrip or a jetty or a proper jetty so that they could access the islands. Uh, because, firstly, the main reason was to sort of for the welfare of the residents of Agalega Island, that because if someone fell ill in Agalega Island or there was a cyclone or a storm or any emergency, then residents of Agalega Island couldn't come to Mauritius easily. So that was the reason why there was a requirement and a need for a proper airstrip and a proper jetty. Now, then in 2015, the Indian government and the Mauritius government, they signed an MOU when Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Mauritius for a bilateral visit. And they decided that Agalega Island, infrastructure in Agalega Island will be developed, financed by India. And so that was the whole idea. Now, obviously, Agalega Island is placed in such a critically strategically located place in the Western Indian Ocean, that if you develop the infrastructure there, it will have a huge strategic significance, because you can land aircrafts, you can land choppers, you can land you can dock your ships at the island if you have a proper infrastructure at the island. So the it took about 9 years now to develop the airstrip. And earlier, if you see the pictures which were shown yesterday during the inauguration, the pictures will tell you the before and after. It was a very thin patch of airstrip that could be seen, and now it's a proper airstrip where aircrafts can land easily and safely. Similarly, the jetty which was there was a jetty, but now it is a proper jetty with the proper infrastructure. So why so in that sense, if you can land strategic infrastructure, strategic assets there, from ships to aircraft, then you can also cooperate with Mauritius government, and India can do that now, because there is infrastructure to counter piracy or drug trafficking or narcotics or terrorism, counterterrorism projects, and also any activities by any elements or any actors which is not which threatens the security and stability and prosperity of the region. So, from that context, it is extremely important. It is extremely strategically significant.
So you talk about the strategic importance of the infrastructure in Mauritius. You also talk about, you divert a little bit and you talk about Mauritius and Maldives having great strategic significance for India. So can you elaborate a little bit on that? What did you mean by that?
Yeah. So, as I told you earlier, that Indian Ocean is of strategic significance for India, and these are India's maritime neighbors, both Maldives and Mauritius. Now, Mauritius is in the western uh, Indian Ocean. So is Maldives. So, in that sense, and they are located on the trade route where
Hmm.
much of the sea lanes of communications are located. Now, China has been increasing its presence and its activities in the last few years. And China sees a great value in having a powerful presence in the Indian Ocean region. Now, nine of China's top 10 crude oil suppliers transit the Indian Ocean. And it's also the primary theater of transit for China for engagements with Africa, Middle East, island nations, and other island countries across the vast ocean. It is also the main trading route between China and Europe. So, in that sense, China is extremely interested in, has a strategic interest in the region. It is, in fact, the only country with embassy in each of the six islands in the Indian Ocean. There's Sri Lanka, Maldives, Mauritius, Seychelles, Madagascar, and Comoros. Whereas none of the traditional players, that is the US, UK, India, or France, have embassies on all six. So, so from that perspective, China opened its first overseas military facility in the Indian Ocean in Djibouti on the Horn of Africa in 2017. And many analysts believe that it's only a matter of time before a second Chinese military facility comes up in the Indian Ocean, whether it will be in Pakistan, Myanmar, or could be in the Western Indian Ocean, which is the area where Mauritius and Maldives are
Hmm.
located.
And how do you see this play out? Because we saw that Maldives had asked India to withdraw its military, and Muzi was not really like, he gave cold shoulder to India, and he also visited China at the same span of time a couple of months ago. So how do you see this play out?
Yeah, so if you see, there's a really contrast in response towards India when you talk about Mauritius and talk about Maldives. So Mauritius obviously has been able to work with Indian government, has used Indian assistance, financial assistance, as well as technical assistance to develop the infrastructure, and has been able to manage the criticism, if any, including what the Mauritius PM, Pravin Jagannath said, that India bashing campaign in Mauritius, where people have sort of been critical of Indian presence or Indian help in building infrastructure. So that is a classic case in point in Mauritius, being very helpful and very sort of cooperative with the Indian government. Whereas in Maldives, we have seen the previous government, it was very helpful, but it could not manage the criticism within in domestic politics. And when it lost the elections, and the new government came to power in November last year under President Mohammad Muizzu, they have sort of gone full throttle in asking for withdrawal of military personnel, and they are pushing ahead to first batch should be out by March 10th of March, and the rest of the military personnel, and there are only about 80 odd military personnel in the island who were operating the aircraft and the chopper, these assets stationed in the island, and that they should be out by the remaining should be out by 10th of May this year. So the Maldives government has taken a very hard line, very sort of critical line of the Indian involvement or Indian presence in the island, whereas Mauritius has been extremely cooperative and accommodative of India's presence. So they are very contrasting responses. So I think that's very interesting to watch from New Delhi, how the two governments are responding to Indian assistance where India's strategic interests are concerned.
Absolutely, and these unfolding developments in these island nations will undoubtedly shape the geopolitical landscape, prompting continued vigilance, like you said, from New Delhi in safeguarding its regional position. Thank you so much, Shubhajit, for joining us, and thank you, viewers, for listening to us. If you like this video, like and subscribe, and thank you so much.